Formula 1 World Championship F4 category. I'm Brett Keenan bringing you solo commentary for the time being. Hopefully to have Guy Tasker with us in the com box at some point. If not, I'll definitely just run a solo commentary. We're at the penultimate round of the championship, the Brazilian Grand Prix, and we're looking at quite a doozy. It looks like we're just getting a few names and just not turning up, so that's fine. So we're just going to go ahead as planned. So things are going pretty much to expected. You're going to see two names. For God's sake, hang on. Just bear with me for a second here while I just... going through. Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry about that. Anyway, so we're at the penultimate round of the championship. We've got a championship. We're just getting ready for everyone to kind of... We'll just get everyone to ready up and we'll get going. So, sorry, it's been a bit of a morning. I've got a cup of coffee here, just trying to get through everything. So, solo commentary doesn't tend to go very well when you're not thinking straight. So we've got a championship battle on our hands. I just need to find that championship perspective so I can give you guys a rundown of what's at play today. So right now we have Albert Ramirez Garcia with a 33 point... No, that's a much older championship, so I need to go straight back down. Here we go, after Mexico. Yeah, so Albert Ramirez Garcia has a 40 point lead heading into this weekend. So all he has to do is remain over 40 points this weekend to win the F4 Drivers' Championship. I'm sure Luke will do everything in his power to deny this. And Matt Coyer also in championship perspective too. He's 66 points behind, so he is mathematically out of the championship. So it's a two-horse race heading into this weekend. If Albert wins, it's game over, and if Luke wins, Albert has to finish basically outside the points virtually to keep the championship going into Abu Dhabi. So we have 10 cars today, but 2 drivers that aren't actually racing in the championship, and that's Jaden Shack and Connor Paisley. The two F3 drivers are making a stand just to fill some numbers up. Probably we could have got more, but there was not very many available at this time on both ends, so very disappointed. Once again, with the attendance rates for F4, F1 is no different. F2 and F3 seem to be our pinnacle of attendance ratios for drivers, so it's hard to say what's going to be transpiring next weekend, whether we just merge F4 and F3. I think what'll happen is that if we manage to conclude both championships today, then we will likely just merge F4 and F3 in a middle space time for everyone to race in. So we won't necessarily do that for F1 and F2 next weekend, because we still do have an F2 title up for grabs, while F1 is pretty much decided with news that John Lindberg may not be attending Brazil. Now, to give you guys the championship perspective of the F1 category, because we did talk about whether it would be predetermined or not, Daniel Valle does have a 50 point lead in the championship. So as it stands, Daniel pretty much only has to finish Brazil and he's world champion effectively, but he is technically, as we state, the champion-elect as of Mexico. And with the news that John Lindberg might not be attending Abu Dhabi, we can almost pretty much just pretty much hand Daniel the title, because he'll go into Abu Dhabi uncontested. So watching Albert on track now, he's the first driver out, which is a bit unprecedented. Usually for the considered the championship points leader, usually they don't want to go out first because they want to see where everyone else stacks up. And you should have a bit of a good battle this today with Luke, and I would almost put Connor Paisley as teammate, it was fill-in teammate, into the perspective as well, because he's definitely showing good. These two show really good commitment with one another. We saw in USA F3 when Connor was charging up on Albert for the podium, and Albert surrendered the position, and then there was a reverse of fate last weekend at Mexico when Albert was given the position by Connor for position 4. So it's been a really good combination for these two in F3, and they'll continue that trend over into F4, into F3 again, as Albert goes to the top with a 1 minute 8 flat on the super soft tyre, I believe. Now, as I think, the tyres are super soft, and medium, so off the hyper soft, ultra soft tyre at least until next week in Abu Dhabi, and then we'll see what plays out in the next season. Now, a little bit of news to put into perspective for a lot of you guys wondering. F1 2019, as Albert's actually gone off the circuit, Alex Reese has gone to P2 with a 1 minute 8.3, which is not too bad for him. Looks like Duke has not decided to come out just yet, so we'll just watch Diogo Cruz, who's still actually sporting the white helmet for this weekend. So I don't. We did talk about the TNF1 Unity last weekend at the championship. Sorry, yeah. So the championship race last weekend had a white helmet race to mark TNF1 World Unity, which was to do in respect to people all around the world, different race, religion, and all that. Despite, you know, through everything through the Christchurch mosque shootings a couple of weekends ago. So, anyway, because of the news of F1 2019 being released on June 28th this year, we've had to shorten our Season 3 calendar to 10 races. I can actually now tell you officially what these 10 races are going to be. So I will just quickly scroll down and find the thing. No, it looks like he's actually put it in there. And Diogo's actually gone off. It doesn't look like he's... Oh no, he was just waiting for traffic to come through. So Alex DeMao's gone to P3 with a 1 minute 10.1 on the soft tyre. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit of acid reflux. So the 10 races will be the Australian Grand Prix round 1, Monaco round 2, France round 3, Austria round 4, Great Britain round 5, Germany round 6, Belgium round 7, Singapore round 8, Japan round 9, and USA will make the last of our championship races. So Jaden Shack's gone to P2 with a 1 minute 8.4. Now, just to give you understanding of why those tracks were selected, this was a committee. That was a committee decision that dictated the grid for that, or calendar for that this season, and then of course we moved to F1 2019 almost instantly after. But with the new customization system to F1 2019, this could really change how the formula works for the 4 categories. Whether we it's going to be interesting to say our own teams. It's going to be very interesting, and there is going to be a lot of people that want to make their own team, and it's going to cause a bit of headache. So we're going to keep it basically as far as 10 teams per category, with 2 cars per team, and we would have to find a way to delegate who makes what team, sort of thing, or whether we just, if it's like GT Sport and you're able to share your livery designs out there, you could make a team for someone else and they can race for you, that kind of thing. We'll probably do it. It's going to be interesting too, because if they are custom teams, they're going to permit you to use custom engines, or use the same engines, I presume. So Ethan Lossings has gone up to P2 with a 1 minute 8 flat himself, but he's half a tenth clear away from the pole time at the moment. Luke's gone to P5 with a 1 minute 9.1 on the mediums, as has Joseph Roberts. He's done a 1 minute 9.2 on the mediums as well. Alex Amell's just had a bit of a moment there to be out of place. Diogo Cruz has only managed to pull out a 37 flat on the hot super soft, so I don't know where he's coming out more. So from that perspective, watching Connor Paisley now on screen here, tracking around the last couple of corners. Just bear with me for a minute. Looks like Albert has improved again to a 1 minute 7.9, so I'm not really sure. This is probably one of the few tracks I'm not actually sure what to look at in regards to lap times, as Connor does a 1 minute 8.6 to sit in P4, so very interesting qualifying at the moment. It looks like Diogo's opting to go to the soft tyre, and Matt Coyer is also running on the medium tyre, so just waiting to see if anyone else does a fast flyer. Coyer's coming around the last turn. He's been pretty quick all season long. He's already racked up a race win, as is his teammate Joseph Roberts. So the Red Bull guys have tasted success this season. Quite up there in the championship, third place at the moment for Matt, and he goes up to P8 with a 1 minute 9.5 on the medium. So the Red Bull boys are doing a different strategy to accommodate each other, both running the one stop, although I think the one stop strategy is kind of accounted for in any regard. It looks like Matt's not actually going to go on with it, so he's actually elected to do the one lap, whether it's going to be the fastest lap or not, and will abandon the qualifying from there. So championship battle wise, of course, Luke in P6 at the moment with a 1 minute 9.1 on the soft tyre, and then Albert is P1 with a 1 minute 7.9, and that'll be I'd say that'll be quite a tricky time to beat, unless Ethan Lossings can pull something out of his bag. Here comes Alex Reese. He's going to cross the line, and he'll begin his first flying lap. What we'll do is ride on board with Alex and do a virtual lap around Brazil. So going through the first two turns, you have to be able to position the car nicely through one, so that two doesn't become too tricky, and three kind of works the same in two. You have to be able to get two flat out so that you don't have to take three square. Coming into four, he uses a bit of grass, which is going to compromise his run a little bit there as he gets on the grass again, heading through four, bit through five, and then into six. It's a fast left-hander. You're just going to be able to get that car on the apex. Don't hit the outer apex, it's going to throw you off. Into seven, tight braking zone. That follows through into another swooper of 8. You have to be able to get on the acceleration here beautifully. It's going to cost you time. Turn 9 and 10, almost kind of similar to the other two corners, but not as flat through 10. And then turn 11, hard on the brakes again. You want to drop it to about third. He drops it to about fourth actually, which has kind of hurt his exit run. And missed a gear, so that's interesting. He's come through 12. Oh no, he's short shifting, so he's actually electing not to worry about it. It's going to cross the line. It's going to be a 1 minute 8.8, so no improvement there. Although it was a very close marginal time there. It was a very quick lap, to be honest. It's a very quick lap when you get down to the basis of it, and you just got to be able to get the car flowing. So it is considered a power circuit by many, but a lot of it comes down to aerodynamics more than anything. So you have to be able to have a car that just takes these corners so fluently. You don't really need to worry too much about the straights, because you only got this one here, which is still a turn, and then you've got to have to be able to get the car moving through the corners to then get a straight. If you're down a little bit on straight line speed, that's not going to be too much of a drama. Maybe here a little bit, but not so much. The second DRS straight. So unlike circuits like Mexico, we've got big straights in more than one area. You don't need to worry too much about your straight line speed. So whereas here you've only got two big straights, or one big straight and one reasonably big straight. So you just got to be able to put it all together and with the aerodynamics and get it flowing. So Connor Paisley here on screen, just coming through turn 6. Sorry, I don't know whether to call the kink turn 4 or turn 5, but I'll call it turn 5 to make that turn 6. And then through here you just got to be able to position the car so nicely and not do too much there. He's gone on the grass a little bit heading into 9, and then 10 you've got to be careful as well, as Lucas has managed to actually get in, which is good news for Lucas. He probably won't end up... Oh, what's going on here? Which car is... That's Alex DeMao who's caused that incident. I think he's tried to get out of the way, and then he must have rejoined. That was a very unusual incident there, but it has kind of warranted the 5-place grid penalty. So I think looking into the qualifying perspective, even though Connor was not actually racing for points in this championship, it does have a little bit of a bearing point on what happened. So he's just stranded there on the circuit now. You probably want to get moving or he's going to get disqualified. Not 100% sure why he's just sitting there, but must have been something to do. Oh no, hang on, here we go. It's probably... Okay, so he was just apologising, he couldn't have just waited until pits to do that, I don't know, but anyway, who we got here? We got Luke on screen right now. Just gonna check the YouTube messages. Oh god, we got the Valmos stuff coming back. Anyway, it's coming down to the wire now. 2 minutes 50 left on the clock, and we're watching Luke on screen here. He looks like he's... Oh, this could be actually a good time. It's going to be a 1 minute 8.4 on the soft tyre, so he's actually been able to improve quite significantly. Of course, he was running the mediums on his first stint, so he's only within 4/10 of Ethan, and only half a second off Albert on the faster tyre, so that's not too bad for for Luke there. Oh, that's good coffee. Sorry. Anyway, so we're watching Ethan now. We'll see what we'll do here is right on board with him. He's actually still running the white helmet, I've just come to notice as well, so he's also showing his TNF1 nudity still, which is good to see. I never did say that you didn't have to stop doing it if you wanted to. So coming into turn 3, you just got to be able to get this right. He's actually done it a lot more smoother than Alex Reese has. So coming into 5, or as I call 6, and then into 7. Oh, a little wide, missed the apex, and that is going to hurt him a little bit coming through here. Oh, he's short shifting to avoid the rear lighting up as he goes into 9, gets into 9 quite swimmingly, and he's backed off, so that's my suggestion, to think he's invalidated somewhere and he's just not gonna go with it. So let's have a look at Albert and see how he approaches the track. So the weather is looking a bit threatening at the moment, but of course we only have a minute left on the clock, so I don't think rain's going to be a factor into this qualifying at all. See, Albert's revving the absolute tripe out of that Merc, gets on the grass a little bit in the final turn, or as we like to call it, Glock turn, because that's where the 2008 championship was decided. as he comes, he's actually going to abort as well. So nobody's giving me a decent running perspective here. So the running order's not looking too bad at the moment. Diogo Cruz has not been able to put in a representative lap time in this entire session, and he'll be wanting to kind of sit there and get a lap in and not be subjected to a 1 minute 35.4. It's been a tough season for Diogo as he goes. Just can't take away from people like Diogo. He's pushing so hard and he's trying to get the absolute best out of the situation. He is going to cross the line. He still might be able to set this time. No, he won't. It would have been an 11 anyway, so it would have been... Oh no, it's still actually got representative, so that's an improvement by a long shot. So and he has been actually given a chance to go again, so I'll continue my statement as he does this lap. He had a rough ride. He did really well at the start of or when he made his debut, which was in the F3 back-to-back races at China and Australia, where he was able to actually bag a win in the F3, and then from there it's been kind of a rough transition into it, and so he elected to move to F4 as a point to the situation, and still hasn't really found his feet as he's now pivoted the car, managed to keep it off the wall, which is good news for him, but he's spread some debris all over the show, so and that's pretty much the session over, so he's elected to just pack it in and call it a day. So very interesting qualifying results there. Albert Ramirez Garcia will take pole position yet again. I don't know where that actually stands in the field of the system, as we can now finally celebrate our 150th subscriber. Okay, I don't really want to know why you called yourself that, Alex, but anyway, so these are your effective top 10, so Alex Di Maio will start at the back because of the 5-place grid penalty. I would say that if we looked at that from a stewarding standpoint, it would be considered justified by the penalty, so I would say there would be no further investigation on that front. Also, Connor, of course, not being in F4 originally means that he wouldn't actually be liable to an investigation on his front unless it was the other way around. So if it was Alex being impeded by Connor, that would be a different story. But since Connor's not in the championship at all, it means that those kind of incidences get overlooked, and all it really serves is to hurt the person in the championship. In this regard, it's put Alex to the back of the field with it all to do. So we welcome Lucas, or that guy Lucas, into the championship. Lucas, I can't remember. I don't want to try and remember his last name on the fly, so we'll just refer to him as Lucas, who's joined the championship for the last 2 races of the season, and then of course we'll recommit to the championship in season 3, our shortened championship. So we'll run through the TKA Media starting grid. Doesn't look like Guy Tasker is going to be joining us today, so it's just going to be me up the front. So it's Albert Ramirez Garcia on pole position in pursuit of his first championship. Well, actually, he'll be in line to get his first championship win and be the first driver to win our coveted F4 title. So he'd be looking to do a double whammy today, and he's going to be able to do it if he stays in position. A win today will more than certainly cement the F4 championship, and he will have Ethan Lossings alongside him for company. Moving down to the second row of the grid, we've got Luke Ringham and Jaden Shack, the invitational driver, as Lucas has been disqualified from the session. Connor Paisley and Alex Reese make up positions 5 and 6. The Mercedes and the McLaren going toe to toe yet again And then it's the two Red Bulls of Joseph Roberts and Matthew Coyler. They make up positions 7 and 8. And then on the 5th row of the grid, we've got Diogo Cruz and Alex DeMau. Of course, Alex serving the 5 place grid penalty for the collision with Connor Paisley during qualifying. And then, of course, Lucas, who sits in the back of the field. Looks like he is running in a Renault. Or he's running in one of the cars, but it'll be... If he was in the Williams, it would be a lot more easier to stomach on the idea of it. We actually might be able to find out in just a second what car he is actually in. Very hard to see. He's actually in a Racing Point, so it's actually not too far off from where he was meant to be racing for. So it does play a perspective, which is quite interesting, but it's something we'll just overlook anyway. So the cars are now lined up on the grid. We've got quite a nice shot here of the cars sitting on top of the hill. So the 5 red lights are going to build up, tension rises, the revs will start to rise up, the lights go out, of course, by our normal system, and with that the F4 Brazilian Grand Prix is away, and it's a good start by Ethan Lossing yet again. Albert Ramirez Garcia just hampered by these poor starts, and he's allowed one guy ahead of him, which in Championship Land's not too bad. There's a spin in the back. That was Alex Reese getting spun around by what looked to be a Red Bull, and he's quickly returned to the track. Now, there is a rule pertaining... Oh, huge crash, and that's DeMau. And Roberts out of the race already. It looked like DeMau got into the wall, and it just fired him straight back onto the circuit, and Roberts had nowhere left to go but straight into the back of DeMau, and that's game over for 2 drivers already. So, bad news for those two. Good news for Ethan Lossing, who's managed to win the start and has pulled out an 0.8 of a second gap over Ramirez, who's got Luke Ringham for company. So the 2 championship combatants are going to go toe-to-toe once again in this race. So, catastrophic start already to this race, and it looks like for the 2 invitationals, P4 and P5 at the moment. So, Lossings will lead the way from Garcia, then it's Ringham, then it's Shaq, Paisley, Cruz, Lucas, Koya and Reese. So it looks like Ethan's managed to not only get the lead, but he's pulling out a gap, and he's going to come under attack soon. Ramirez is going to soon come under attack here by Ringham, who's also under attack a little bit by Shaq, who's running different tyre strategy. So both cars are just in different tyre land, so just expect to see... Oh, I thought for a second there Shaq might have a go. In fact, he's just lost the rear a little bit in the proceeds of that, so that's cost him a bit of time, and that should set Paisley up for a move in due course. So Diogo's made a pretty good start to recover from the back of the field to be up into P6, and Lucas has made a pretty good start. He's actually started on the mediums to counteract the fact that he had to start at the back. And oh, what's going on in here? So okay, so it looks like it's very interesting to see that a lot of these cars are going off at this part of the track. So, and in doing so, it's cost Jaden a 5-second stop-go penalty for his action. So I don't know what it's coming down to, whether the cars are just losing traction at the rear at the fastest point of that corner, and oh god, goodness me, that's a very dangerous thing to admit there, Alex, to admit to not looking where you were going. So that could be very heavily scrutinised if a report comes in for that. Anyway, we'll overlook that fact for a second and just look at the battling going on. So the top 2 have actually started to pull away from Luke now. We've got a Sector 2 incident. Someone has gone off. It's Jaden again, and where is it this time? This is at... Oh yeah, this is at the far section. So he's done it again, and it just looks like he must be losing a lot of... Yeah, look, the rear tyres are... the rear tyres are definitely not really enjoying the pace, so he needs to slow it down and get it back. And Diogo's lost a bit of ground as well. He's dropped 2 positions suddenly from out of nowhere as well. So Diogo struggling yet again to get to grips, but I'm sure he'll bounce back, and I'm pretty sure he'll be looking at this season and just thinking, okay, let's just get this season over with and worry about next season. I think a lot of us, including myself, are looking at that same prospect too. Oh, and a special little mention too for next weekend too. You won't see me for F1 commentary. That's because I'll be actually racing in the F1 category to give up the number 1. So as defending world champion for the F1 category, I feel like I should be there for the last race to hand to what we think will be Daniel Vale, the number 1, and do that. Oh, and not again. That's the second time in a row that Ethan's been in the lead of the race and his internet's gone. So that's just unbelievably heartbreaking for Ethan. But we know just to clarify something, because of the next few rounds, I think what's going to happen is that we're going to end up merging the F3 and the F4 next weekend to just make the numbers bigger. If both F3 and both F4 titles are determined, we can then pretty much go from there. So sorry about that. So I was just having a... Hopefully, because Joseph looks like he's still in the lobby, he should be able to let Ethan back in. So hopefully we can see that happen and get racing going again. So Lucas has made some pretty good ground in this race. So hang on, I could have sworn a minute ago it was saying he was on the mediums. Who knows? Either way. Oh, we got to stick to 3 incident, and Alex is... Ooh. Sorry, Alex. I think I might have just caught you. Yeah, you can't hide that one from me, Alex. You can't hide that one from me. That was on. Looks like in my absence of mine, it looks like Jaden's also pulled out as well. So 7 cars left on the track. Lucas is looking like a P4 finish as Jaden leaves the session for his incident. And yep, so Ethan's back in, so he'll be able to rejoin in P5, and if he's lucky enough, he should be able to sorry, I'm a little distracted. Oh, we've got another Sector 3 incident, but Sector 3 ends... Okay, so it's just an immediate leggy car parked on the pit straight. Okay, that's an interesting one. Anyway, we've got Koya coming in very early on the medium tyre. Is there damage on Koya's end, or is there... No, it's a complete strategy change, so... Oh no, sorry, I was right. No, there is a wing change, so he's got... I did think that changing... So, sorry, I'm just helping Ethan get back into his car. He doesn't know how to do it. So, actually, I'll say it now, on the chance that, Ethan, you might be watching this broadcast. You go to the spectator menu, you go to the driver select, find your name like this, hit the X, and then it will go, in this case, it will go spectate or take control. So, it looks like... Yep, he's back in, so... looks like he's managed to come out just in front of, or he's managed to rejoin just in front of Diogo Cruz, so it looks like he will be able to recover himself after this. So we will probably expect to see a few F4 drivers partake in F3 later on this today, just to kind of give a number ratio. I'm just gonna. Yeah, she left. The mascot was here moments ago, but she's now vacated the premises. Oh no, she hasn't. She's right there. So I'm babbling a little bit, but it's kind of hard to concentrate when you're the single commentator and you don't have someone that can back you up a little bit while you check the information out. So actually, I've just noticed something a little cheeky. That guy Lucas is actually running the number 1 on his car, but I don't think that's going to be an issue primarily. But we'll just see how things play out throughout the rest of the race. So we're on lap 9 of 36, so we've still got long way to go in this race, as Diogo now pits from position 6. And we'll just see what's going on here. So Diogo will serve a 5-second stop-go penalty, which I think was to do at the start. He did. I think the game was that he made an illegal overtake and never gave it back, or something like that. I don't know. But he's in. He's done his stop. He's going on the soft tyre. Ooh, this could be close, actually. The one thing I've always found interesting about the pit lane of the Brazilian circuit is that it always brings out quite an interesting contest. So Diogo's just going to come out right in front of Koya, who should probably make a move here. He's going for it, but then elects to no, because people call this track, people call that spot an overtaking. Oh, here we go. This could get really dicey, really ugly. Diogo tries to brake late to. Well, he actually managed to pull off. Matt nearly lost his front nose cone just on the sake of how quickly he had to kind of duck off from the brake, or duck off from the just watching now as they head down the back straight. Will Diogo go defensive? Yes, he will, quite massively, but I think Koya's got the run. Diogo should. Oh, I don't know about this. Diogo wasn't too sure whether to give the position up or try to protest the point on the inside, but it does look like at the end he's given it up. Now, the DRS deactivation point, unlike Mexico, is on the straight, so, oh, this could get. Oh, that looked a bit dicey, but it looks like they've managed to pull it through. So, Connor Paisley's coming in. So here, Connor will come out just behind Ethan in position 5. Sorry. Okay, so look, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take a quick break, and when I come back, I'll be a bit more occupied. Right, so sorry about that, people, and it's, you know, this is the high line point that makes single commentary very tricky to kind of commandeer, especially when you're on a live streaming services. So I do deeply apologise for the constant breaks, the constant cutting of words and all that kind of stuff. So Ethan Lossings has just come into the pits and he's gone onto the medium tyres. Albert Ramirez continues to lead from Luke Ringham, so the two championship combatants continue to duke it out. Now, I don't exactly know what the pit strategy is for this one stop, but it looks like that, but it certainly looks like it, at the rate of things, that Albert is trying to push these tyres to the absolute limit. And, anyway, a little bit of what's happening today, not so much tomorrow, because we won't be really worrying about tomorrow all that much with the F1 and the F2, what with the F1 already decided. A lot of today's racing is going to be on the basis of having a look at next season a little bit. We do run evaluations for today, for next season, to see where people line up, but this is going to be a very interesting telling point about drivers that might not necessarily be in these categories next season. So you look at the likes of Albert and all that. Albert's actually come in and he's jumped on the medium tyre, so we think he should be able to go to the end based on those numbers. So we're still watching Connor here, who's ranging up onto the back of Lucas, both being on very different strategies here. And Lucas has done a good job to be able to start from the back of the field and be able to kind of just pace himself a little bit and stay out of the trouble that's been going on around them. Of course, Ethan now back in the session, he's managed to kind of claw back a bit of the time he's lost, but he will be pretty disappointed on the idea that he's lost all that ground after taking the lead of the race. And it further cements the disappointment for him, because he was like that last weekend at Mexico, when he was in the similar position, leading the race and then disconnected. In that case, he didn't come back because nobody was able to send him an invite, so it was unfortunate for him. This time around, he was able to, luckily, that one of the drivers still in the session was able to send the invite, as he does the fastest lap of the race to kind of cement the proof of his pace. Oh, and here we go. So Connor's now right on the back of Lucas, but Lucas goes horrendously wide. In fact, he's going to go wide again, as opposed to Connor trying to force the issue. And Connor did a very good job not to actually make the overtake there, because he probably would have been condemned for, probably would have got done for an illegal overtake, and B, if Lucas decided that he felt aggrieved by that and sent that into the stewards, it would have more than likely been considered a hit and run, or bumper run. So, beautiful shot here of turn 10 that shows also the back section in turn 3, and oh, Lucas goes wide again, and that just opens the door for Connor to just zip on through, and Connor now moves up to P3, which puts Mercedes 1, 2 and 3, so once again, and of course Connor's Season 3 aspirations looking a little uncertain, but will be more than Connor now gets a 3-second time penalty for corner track extending, and that corner in particular is very tricky to get that foundation, because you've got to be able to attack the corner, but then you've got to attack the curb, as Luke now comes in. So 14 laps on the... Oh, that sounds terrible. In fact, he's stuck in P, which is usually park gear, so... Although maybe that's all P for the pit limiter gear, but either way, he's going to now jump on the mediums as well. So Albert's done what he can to try and jump onto the mediums from the super soft, but Luke is definitely going to have the edge as we watch the pit crew bring the tyres back in, and whee! You know what? We're actually... Oh, okay. Thanks. I guess we weren't allowed to watch that one for too long. So he's rejoined in front of Connor by about 3 seconds, and the gap to Albert is 3 seconds exactly, and we've also got Diogo in between them as well, so Luke will have a bit to do, but he'll have 3 lap fresher mediums over the other two. Now, Connor's strategy actually has led me to believe that he's actually running the 2-stop, so it looks like different people are trying out different strategies. Connor will be doing this mostly on the fact because he'll be able to think that he could do this for F3, as would Albert, as Alex leaves the session. I thought he had already had, so I'm a bit surprised that he was still there. So yeah, different strategy for the 2 Mercedes drivers. One's doing the 1-stop, one's doing the 2-stop. But at the same time, it comes down to, I think the 2-stop probably isn't the quickest strategy around Brazil, unless you've got the pace to really back it up, as Connor's really ragged at the moment. He's driving his car like he's driving on a pad. I don't know whether he is on a pad or not, but he's just throwing the car every which way he can to make something out of it. And we'll just see Ethan here, he's starting to make some ground up on Lucas as well. And then the back two of Koya and Cruz, who Diogo's actually, oh no, that's Luke clearing Diogo, so Diogo's dropped back even further as opposed to that, and he'll also have to pretty soon give way to Connor Paisley as well. So we'll just watch Ramirez for a second here while I have a look at the comments in the YouTube page. The overall pace of the cars at the moment is looking not too bad, but at the same time as Luke does the fastest lap of the race with a 1:10.8. The other thing I'm kind of overlooking at the moment is the potential for rain. It's hard to say whether it's going to happen or not. Can't really see any telltale signs at the moment that suggests as much. The reason Connor could be on a 2-stop strategy could be on the account of a potential rain shower, but honestly, I would have thought that if you were going to be predicting rain, or knowing that rain was coming, I would probably have gone on a 1-stop, so that the tyres were more than likely to make it to that rain stint. Now, putting it into that perspective though, it could very well be that the rain doesn't come till very much near the end, and I think but when you think about it, a worn tyre is going to traction up better in the rain than a new tyre, because of the fact that the worn tyre has got warmth in it, and it will take a lot longer to lose cool down and take traction. And that's why they always think if you've been on the harder the compound tyre you're on, the better your chances, because it takes longer to heat up, but it also takes longer to cool down. So there's a lot into that theory, as Luke gets a 3-second time penalty for track extending, or I'd say that'd probably be corner cutting, as Lucas has finally come in from position 4, sorry. He's done 18 laps on a set of soft tyres, and he'll jump on the mediums. Now, I can understand that from a perspective to say you're going to have the freshest tyres at the end of the race, but I don't really think, if you're really committing to a 1-stop, I don't really think you should be honestly pushing your tyres any further than you really. Interesting lag moment there, watching, I think that incident was, normally it is starting to lag quite a bit, instance to that, and he has actually managed to keep the gap out to Connor, but that's also because Connor's super softs will be starting to fall away. Oh, sorry, we've just lost Diogo too, so Diogo's called it a day, and we'll see him in Abu Dhabi. But yeah, the car, you know, it's a perspective matter when you come down to it. A lot of drivers have just kind of washed off the idea of the championship and will be looking into going for the evaluations into next season, despite the fact that evaluations next season are only going to be 2 races. And we've got a virtual safety car as opposed to the Diogo situation. Now, any driver right now could use this opportunity to take a quick, a free pit stop here and not get affected by it. And Luke has actually made quite some good ground on Albert during this process. So all Albert has to do is make a mistake in this virtual safety car period, which would be like going too fast and then having to stop before the safety car ends, and then that would be a breeding ground ticket for as something. So Connor's taken this time to do that that quick pit stop, so he has lost a little bit of ground on the account that the virtual safety car has ended before the virtual safety car end, well, before he finished the stop. But he did manage to get in, get the service done, and pit basically, the virtual safety car basically came out, finished when he was able to get on the gas. So he hasn't lost that much ground. He should be able to, by virtue, pull in that 6.5 second gap on Ethan by the end of the race, and that should probably be an interesting battle to watch at the end of the race. But at the moment we've also got another interesting battle coming up, because Luke is starting to reel in Albert, and these two of course are battling for the championship. But even as they stand now, even if Luke manages to get ahead of Albert and win the race, Albert will take the F4 World Championship. So it's kind of touch and go for Luke. He's got to try and overtake Albert, and then he's got to try and hope that, or he's going to have to hope and pray that Albert suddenly retires before he meets the 90% rule, because even with the 90% rule, if Luke wins and Albert DNFs before the 50% rule, the battle will go to Abu Dhabi and the gap will be 15 points, which means Albert would pretty much have to finish in the top 5 if Luke wins to win the championship. If Albert doesn't finish within, and he's within the 90% rule, he should still theoretically be the champion-elect for F4. So Luke's got to try and push Albert into a mistake that's critical to the championship for this weekend, because if he does, he, with a 17-second gap back to Ethan Lossing, he would be able to afford to just back off and consolidate the points. But Albert's not the kind of character, I've come to notice, to be able to make a mistake, or an openly massive mistake, or to put himself in a position where he might not score points. So he's a very cool, calm, collected driver. I've seen this throughout the time since he debuted in F4. Excuse me. Ethan will be kind of reeling in the thoughts that he could have been a championship contender this weekend if it wasn't for the 3 races that he missed through other reasons. So he'll be disappointed by that. I'll just have a look at the championship picture between him and Matt Coyer at the moment. So the gap between those two is only 9 points. So there's still a chance for Ethan to bag 3rd in the championship at the moment, and given that he's in position 3 versus Coyer, who will actually move up to P4 based on the fact that Connor Paisley's not racing for position, it will only be a 3-point difference heading into that, so it'll go to 6 points heading into Abu Dhabi. So there'll be a championship battle for 1st and 2nd. Well, actually, there'll be a conclusion to F3 this weekend, F4 this weekend, if positions stay as is, as lag kind of continues to push me into thinking Luke is making huge mistakes. But we could see an F4 champion today if positions stay as are, but we'll definitely have we will have a battle for 3rd and 4th in the 3rd and 4th in the championship between Matt Coyer and Ethan Lossings, based on those factors. And I think a lot of Lossing's loss in the championship was made last weekend, of course, with not being able to get back into the race in F4 Mexico, which meant he had to deal with whatever position the car was in. And I think Matt Coyer finished ahead of him, which kind of triggered the situation there. So a few names have disappeared from the championship picture as well. David Edwards is elected to leave the Transnation Formula 1 without any form of notification. And then a few other drivers have moved and swapped around to kind of make ends meet, and we did do that rejig a little bit earlier to put the more committed F4 drivers up to F3, and then the rest made up the rest of F4. So that kind of plays a part as to why numbers are so short in F4. I still, despite that, always would like to see 10 or 11 official F4 drivers in the race. This race has only seen 9, so it's not the greatest, but it's got breeding ground for improvement, and we hope that next season with our evaluation and change of days, it may improve the numbers, it may decrease the numbers, we don't know. We really just want to keep all the racing on the same day, so that's the whole reason that F4 and F3 will move to the Sunday day as F1 and F2, and the times for those have yet to be determined. So, but what is going to happen is that you're going to have basically 2 streams happen on a 10 o'clock, on an 8 o'clock bracket, and a 10 o'clock bracket. So F1 is definitely a 10 o'clock bracket, and then from there it's pretty much, we think that F2 will move to the 8 o'clock bracket, F4 will move to the 10 o'clock bracket, and F3 will move to the 8 o'clock bracket. So there'll be a bit of a change around, kind of a roles reverse for the 4 categories. So the 8 o'clocks move to the 10 o'clocks, and the 10 o'clocks move to the 8 o'clock, apart from F2, because F2 starts at 11 o'clock on a Sunday. But keep in mind that next weekend F2 will start at 10 o'clock because of daylight savings ending for New Zealand, and as of Monday for Europe, well, our Sunday for Europe, they enter their daylight savings. So times are going to be a bit jumbled and times are going to be a bit tricky, but we will manage somehow, one way or another, to formulate a perfect strategy, especially given when we decide to do this F3, F4 combined race. And I can tell you, people are going to probably ask the question, have you got enough, are you going to have enough space to do it? I think if you look at the perspective right now, you're only getting roughly about 9 competitive drivers in F4. Now, 2 of those drivers, hang on, let me look at the list again. Well, sorry, 1 of those drivers races F3 as well, and that's the race leader, Albert Ramirez Garcia. Connor Paisley, of course, races F3, so you take him out, as is Jaden Shack, so you've got them. So you've already got 2 drivers in F3 racing today, so, well, 3 drivers, so remove them from the equation. So you've got, at the moment of the 11 cars, you have 8 of them in F4. And then the rest make up F3. So I think personally, with 8 from F3, and we usually have about a 10, 11, maybe as close to a 14 field lobby. So I think personally, we could see a 20 car lobby for the F3, F4 combined race, based on those numbers. If we go over a little bit, then we'll probably just go back to normal proceedings, but I don't see that happening, to be honest. There's a lot of people decide not to play ball a lot, so it'll be easier to manage through this. But anyway, we'll carry on. We've got 8 laps left to go, and the gap between the top 2 is currently 1.8 seconds, and then it's still a further 16 seconds back to Ethan Lossing. So despite the disconnection, he's still going to make a podium, which is going to be good for him. And actually, now that Lucas has gotten around Matt Coyer, who does just done the fastest lap of the race, that's going to change the championship contrast between Lossings and Coyer as well. So that's going to be position 3 versus position 5. Position 5. So that's a 5-point difference. So that's going to make it 4 points between Ethan and Mac heading into the final round of the championship. So it's going to be an interesting telling point to see where this goes through. And And Lucas on his debut is going to make a P4 finish from starting at the very back of the field. Now, understandably, when you have 11 cars in the field, it's not that hard to claw your way back. So, not that I'm taking away any credit for his driving. He's done a very good job. Maybe a little bit of a mistake when he was battling with Connor there. That gate to Connor P4. And Connor hasn't actually really made too much ground on Ethan either, to which I would have thought would have been the case given that the almost 10 lap difference in their tyre strategy. I would have thought Connor's pace would have been electrifying to the point where he would have been able to challenge Lossing for the podium, despite the fact that it wouldn't really matter to Connor in that regard anyway. So, two-stop strategy for Connor has kept him in P4, but it's kept taking him out of pretty much any position or any positional matter that he could have done to win or be in the battle for the podium. At the same time, though, the timing of the virtual safety car was probably good for him to be able to do the stop. It would have been just a little unfortunate that the virtual safety car ended while he was just getting back up to speed out of the pit lane. So he'll be ruined that a little bit, but he'll be happy knowing that he didn't lose overly too much ground. He is making some of that ground back up just a little bit, but it's only really fractioning between 1 or 2 1,000 of a second, so he's not being able to chip away at Ethan, and Ethan has actually been able to do pretty well to match Connor sector through sector. In fact, if anything, through the second sector, it almost looks like Ethan's car is a lot more sturdier, so there's a bit of differences between the two driving, and Albert's pulled out now a 3.7 second gap over Luke, so that's almost suggesting to me that Luke is either preserving his tyres for one last crack, or he's admitted defeat and he's just trying to consolidate P2, which will basically, at this point now, certainly grant Albert the F4 World Championship with 1 round to go. So Albert will be just looking to try and back this up and hold ground. Now, there'll probably be one of the biggest questions asked about what's going to happen next season in regards to certain things. Now, among the drivers, the biggest question's been asked: if you win the championship of that category and you stay in that and you move category, do you get the number 1? Sadly, no. The number 1 only goes to the driver that wins the Formula 1 world title, the F1 category. Unfortunately, even if you manage to win the championship in, say, F3, and you stay in F3 for the next season, you can't run the number 1, because the number 1 is reserved only for the F1 world champion. You can run something that looks like you could run something with the 1 next to it, so you could run a number that has the 1 next to it, but you can't officially run the number 1. But the thing about it anyway is that even if we did say you could, the chances are I don't think a lot of these drivers who are racing in F3 and F4 right now are likely to stay in F3 and F4 right now, well, for next season, because you've got Sterling West, who could win this weekend's F3 title. He's not actually racing next season. He's going to be a commentator for us in the F2 or the F3 championship. So you can almost throw that one out the window. Going by Albert's pace, I would almost think he would be F2, F3 material, so you can throw that perspective out the window. Daniel Vale, of course, the F1 title winner, so he'll be there anyway. And then F2, we believe that it doesn't matter whether it's Sebastian Spicer or Matthew Clevy who wins the title there, both are going to F1 anyway as well, so it kind of just throws the whole notion out. So there will effectively only be one number 1, and that's in the F1, and that'll be Daniel Vale. But it goes into perspective for all that. So yeah, so I don't think you'll see a number 1. It really depends on whether Daniel wants to run the number 1 as well. It's a very interesting state of play, as Albert's going really ragged as he's now ranging up to the back of Matt Coyer, who's going to drop a lap down, and I think Matt will be a little disappointed about his race today. It just doesn't seem to have been able to hook up for him. Qualifying, he only managed to done the 1 lap on the mediums, and then aborted from there, so obviously thought that he would run the medium and do the one-stop strategy of the reverse factor, and then it hasn't played out because of an early pit stop due to wing damage, as Matt goes off track to allow Ramirez through. Now, somebody made mention of a 5-second penalty for Albert. Now, I'm guessing that must have been on the account of maybe a speeding in pit lane. But even at the moment, I think Luke also has a couple of penalties as well. So I think from the penalty scale, I still think Ramirez has got this race in the palm of his hand. Koya looks like he's not really... Although that's the thing about lap traffic. They have to let you through, but it doesn't mean they have to back off and do stuff. There's a bit of lag now starting to spike through, but I think it's only little bits and bobs, but nothing too drastic. Although the last thing I think Ramirez would want, knowing that he could possibly win the championship today, is to have a car lag into the back of him and put him out of the race. But alas, in that situation, the 90% this race distance has been met. Luke's got another time penalty and has actually lost quite a bit of ground. I thought initially it was just them thing just backing off, but it looks like Luke is losing ground because he's actually lost 2 seconds to Ethan Lossings, who's also managed to pull the gap out from Connor from 6 seconds the last time we saw it to 11.5. So Connor's made a mistake somewhere along the line, and it's not going to affect him in the position between himself and Lucas. But Matt is not 100. Matt's just following Ramirez despite through all this. So this could turn into a little bit of a Verstappen Ocon situation of last season, where, I mean, when you think about it, look at this. Ramirez is going defensive on a guy that's a lap down. He shouldn't really be having to do that. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. But yeah, look at this. So Koya, despite the fact that he's gone a lap down, he doesn't feel like he needs to just back off and leave things be. But it's only on the account that his tyres aren't fully out of the picture. So I would say that if Ramirez got spun around right now, this would be very, very suggestive that there was a bit of foul play in the air, maybe. But I don't think Matt's going to be that silly to try and mount an attack on a driver that's trying to win a race here. So, although we probably could have said the same thing about Verstappen and Ocon, but that kind of, look where that ended up. So Matt's kind of backed off now, so I don't know whether he's heard me or not, or whether he's listening or not, but either which way he's backed off to allow Ramirez to cumulate his own race. So the gap's dropped a little bit, but not too drastically. The gap's 4.7 seconds, but that extra 3-second time penalty from Luke has probably more than helped Ramirez take what is going to be it's going to be a very momentous occasion here today for the Hispanic driver now residing in Canada at the moment. He's looking to go out with style and go into F3, knowing that he's the F4 champion, and it's going to be probably a huge outpour of emotion for himself. Mercedes, unfortunately, probably aren't going to take the constructors. That prop right will probably go to Sauber nonetheless, but either which way, Albert Ramirez Garcia will come across the line. He'll not only win the Brazilian Grand Prix, but he is now the F4 World Championship elect, as Ringham throws his car into the fence for P2. That's a huge crash, but he's pulled it off, so Luke Ringham will take home P2, and Ethan Lossings disconnected, but will take... Oh my goodness me, that car is on its roof! Oh, that is a huge crash. That is unbelievably massive. We're just going to watch this and see what happens from Connor's... Please don't. Honestly, please don't. I'm just going to quickly invite these three drivers in, but please don't crash into the fence again. So, 1, 2, and Luke's going to be appearing offline, no doubt. So, Here comes Lucas down the line. He'll probably now see the cars off on the thing. He's actually, no, he's backing off. So, that car is still on its roof as... I don't know what Lucas is doing. He's going to lose position if he's not... Oh, no, because this thing's finished, so... That's the end of the race. I'll just quickly see who's just joined us here, because I was a bit distracted. Albert. So, Albert Ramirez Garcia, congratulations. You are officially the F4 World Champion.
Wow, unbelievable. Oh, unbelievable. I had a 5 times second penalty with just for 1 kilometer, but wow, that one of the greatest races I ever had. Wow, unbelievable.
Congratulations, mate. You enjoy it. You deserved it. It's been a tough ride for you all season long. You've managed to persevere and put it through. Don't look like we're going to get Luke. He probably needed to go to the medical centre after that huge crash at the finish line. But Ethan Lossing, Ethan, congratulations. You got on the podium despite... Could have been a race win for you today, but yet again, it looks like the game wants to punish you for being in the lead, and it's given you a disconnection. But you've managed to come back through the field and score a podium despite all that, and that keeps you actually well in the hunt to finish third in the championship. So well done, mate. How does it feel? Yeah, it's done that to quite a few drivers, and it's not an easy thing to understand, especially 2 races in a row. But it was a good drive from you. It looked like you had some reasonably good pace once you got back in, and just looks like you're able to consolidate, and so now you sit 4 points behind third place in the championship, so you've got a battle on your hands heading into Abu Dhabi. So without further ado, we'll once again congratulate Albert Ramirez Garcia, who is our F4 World Champion elect for season 2018. We head again to race day for Abu Dhabi for next weekend, the final round of the championship. We will be crossing over very shortly to F3 in 50 minutes time, where I'll be joined in commentary with someone, which will make things a lot easier on myself. Mark Brackby will join us in commentary to see if we can crown an F3 World Champion this weekend, or will we see it go to Abu Dhabi for... and then, of course, don't forget, we also have the Trans Nation Supercar Championship at 4 o'clock this weekend at the French circuit of Ascal Village. We'll see if I can back up a race win like I did last weekend at Brazil, nonetheless. Till then, Brett Keenan signing out from Brazil, and we'll see you again at the season finale at Abu Dhabi.